I don't know if you've ever seen a Lifetime movie, but if you have, you know how wild the plots can get. I was watching one the other day. I think it's called Dirty Little Secret. The title is way misleading, but I digress. It's about this woman who suffered from OCD, so she was a neat freak for the lack of better words, and because of that, her husband left her. It's because of the trauma that she got from that, she became a hoarder, and basically she started keeping things, and the house got cluttered. No, that's not even the unhinged part of the story. The house got so cluttered that no one visited her, not even her children. And when her daughter came to visit her and found out that she had died in the house, the daughter set the house on fire, and the house burned with ease because it was so cluttered. And that's kind of like how your essence will burn if you don't get rid of that clutter. But don't worry, that's why I'm here. I'm going to provide you with 5 tips to help you to keep that essay under the word count. Do you think that parents know when they have an ugly baby? I mean, I think the polite thing to do when you see a newborn is to say, "Oh, you have such a cute kid." But what if it ain't cute though? Like, is the parent aware? You see, I think that was my issue. I couldn't bring myself to admit that my baby was ugly even though I knew it deep down. And before you go spread propaganda on my name now, the name of my baby was on the flip side of the coin. Right? I used to use that transition so much in my essays, and when I say use it, I used to use it. I mean, it's cute, right? It's cute. But you see, the problem wasn't that it was cute. You see, when you have a 500 or 300 word limit, that baby is horrendous. You're better off using one word transitions like besides and however. But don't get me wrong, babies are fine. Babies are fine. But if you find that your argument is not fully developed, get rid of it. Just get rid of it. And a baby is any word or phrase that gives you the feeling of, ooh, I wrote that when you put it in your essay. If you're a science student, you're definitely guilty of this. Writing in the passive voice. You see, for scientific papers and research, it's just simply the norm. But stop for a second and really ask yourself, do I really talk like this? To ensure that you're writing in the active voice, what you need to do is ensure that the subject is always carrying out the action. Another thing that you can do is change nouns that can easily be verbs to verb. For example, in this sentence, this essay provides an analysis of the organizational strategies used can simply be this essay analyzes the organizational strategies used. Another occurrence that I've seen in essays that contribute to them being too wordy is when you try to write too professionally or too formally. And I swear it's like reading a Bridgerton script minus the T, and ain't nobody burning to read that essay, love. I know I've been on about this and that for a while now, but you want to remove words like the, this, and that from your sentences because most often context is already given, so they are not necessary words to add. For example, the clarity of the writer's argument depends on the content, and the style could be said shorter by simply saying clarity in the writer's argument depends on content and style. You see, thank me later. You ever met someone who can talk for hours and it turns out that they're yapping about everything and nothing at the same time until eventually you start to wonder how you even ended up in the situation in the first place? That's exactly how long sentences feel. You see, most often you start your argument at bottom road, and by the time you get to yonder's gallows, you can't even remember what your argument was in the first place. I want you to check your essays. If you have a sentence that's a whole paragraph long, chances are you have a lot of ifs, buts, and ands. Remove them. Use up your full stops and semicolons. They don't count as words. Ostracize orphans, widows, and danglers, especially the danglers. Danglers are words that neither add nor subtract from your argument, so avoid them like the plague. For example, the use of metaphors greatly increases the reader's engagement in the writer's argument. The dangling word here is greatly. If I were to remove it from the sentence and you were to read it again for the first time, you wouldn't even have known that it was there in the first place. So, as I said, avoid those danglers. Try paying attention to these tips so that your grade isn't affected by something as trivial as, say, the word count. Try not to go over or under by more or less than 10%, and you should be fine.